So Chazar from yesterday. We're pretty much dealing with green grains. How can they be used for Eruv? And then we said we go with most of what the world is edible and what's not. Then we went with the proper bracha on green grains and on hops, and using unripe dates and hearts of palm for an Eruv. And then we discussed the bracha on hearts of palm. And then we said also that if you have food that's really not edible, but it's eventually going to be edible if you cook it, then that would also be okay. So that was basically yesterday's daf. Today's daf, for the most part, focuses on all, again, different types of foods that could use to make the Eruv and what the amounts are. That's pretty much what we're going to be dealing with. So on the bottom line on Chaf Ches Amud Beets. Yeah. So Amar Rav Hamnuna. Yeah, we got it? Everybody there? Fine. So Amar Rav Hamnuna, Ma'arvin Betrodin Chayim. So you can be Ma'arv with radishes, beets, right? Beets that are raw. It's not true. Raw beets will kill it really means a live person, but what it means is means somebody who's healthy or living, right? So how could it be, meaning if it's so not helpful, so how could it be that not only helpful, if it's downright dangerous, how could it be they could use it for an Eruv? So we say, no, that's talking about where is it going to kill somebody if it's in the quasi state of it's raw. Literally means it's cooked and not cooked, but what it means is it's not fully ripe yet. Yeah, Ikadamri, right? There are those that say, Amar Rav Hamnuna ein mar betrodin chayin. You're not allowed to make an Eruv with betrodin chayin. Amar Rav Chisda silka chaya kotel gavra chaya. You're not allowed to use it for an Eruv because we know that raw beets will kill somebody. But we see people do eat it and they don't die. So we say no. Hasam b'bashal v'loy bashal. Right. So when is it that it's not good? Is where it's somewhere in the middle. It's in the middle stage. But if it's fully cooked or totally raw, then it's gonna be fine. It's not unhealthy. Yes, Amar Chista. Tash shadranim yafal l'leiv v'tayv le'nayim. I don't know if them remembers this from brachas. Right, so tavshil shaltradin, right, cooked beets. I guess is that borscht? Borscht is just beet soup. No, I think we discussed this even when we did brachas. Right, it's a tavshil, whatever, beets. Yafa l'leiv, it's good for the heart. For toilet nine, good for the eyes. The kosher came to livnei b'ayim, and for sure, it's good for your intestines. Amar Abaya, who the Yosef abay tafi, but that's only if it sits on the stove of it tuch until it makes the sound tuch. Tuch is, I guess, is a boiling sound, right? So that's how long you have to have it on the stove in order for it to be healthy. Fine. Amar Rava, Hareini ki ben Azai b'shuki Tveria. I'm like Ben Azai and Shuki Tveria. So Rashi says what that means is that Ben Azai was very sharp, right? And he was a smart fellow, and he was able to answer questions at all times. So Rava was feeling it. I guess that's the way to say it. He was feeling it one day, and he said, "Today's the day to ask me questions, right? Because I feel like I'm Ben Azai." It's fine.
Feeling what?
He's feeling that he'll be able to answer. He's feeling smart. That's
I wouldn't know.
What? You wouldn't know, huh? Yeah. So he was feeling smart. So how many apples do you need in order to make an Eruv, right? We know that there's a minimum amount of things that you have to make an Eruv. So what's the minimum amount of apples? So they said to him back, Rava said to them, are you even allowed to use apples to make an Eruv? So well, it says, you're not allowed to use apples, why not? All food combined to passel a person to eat Terumah b'chatzi pras, with a half a pras, the amount of a half a pras of food. Meaning normally we know that food is not, if let's say food is tameh, food that's tummy cannot make a person tummy. But there's a gezerah that if a person eats a half a pras of tummy food, then he's not allowed to eat truma until he goes to the mikveh. So if you eat all food combines, meaning, so let's say he has one apple, one orange, and a pastrami, and whatever, and they're all tummy, they do combine.
I don't know. What's the question that apples can make in? We went through yesterday a whole bunch of things. We came out with fisters and machlekes.
Right.
But apples for sure.
No, that was a machlekes. That was with for meiser. That was not for. This is for eruv. Let's see what the Gemara says. So v'mazon shtei sudas la'eruv, and also all foods combine for the 2 meals that you need to make an eruv. Right? We said you need to make an eruv tchum. You need to have something the equivalent of 2 meals. Ukebeitzel l'tamei tumas eichlin, and it needs to be an egg, size of an egg. That's going to be tumas eichlin. So then the Gemara says, "V'hai ma'iti yufta." So what's your question? If you're saying it says all food and apples are also included, but you can't say that because we had this rule yesterday or 2 days ago. Rabbi Yochanan says you can't learn anything from the time it says a rule, klal, right? Kol, meaning the word kol. Even if it says except for, you still can't learn anything out of it. So therefore, that's not necessarily a proof that you're allowed to make an eruv with apples. All because the Brisa says, and the Mishnah says, you have the amount of 2 seudas for an eruv, and a kabeya to make something tummy tumas eichlin. And apples can become tummy, right? So since apples could become tummy, so why can't you use apples for an eruv? The kama and how much? Meaning, how many apples do you need for an eruv? Needs to be a kav, right? Needs to be a kav's worth of apples in order to be considered 2 sudas, and that's what you would need for your eruv. So Meser Hashem and Elazar Aimer, uchla tavlin v'litra yarek. So uchla is a measurement. Right, so uchla of tavlin, whatever the measurement is of spices, the litra yerek, a litra comes, I guess that's where the word liter comes from, of vegetables. V'asara egoizin, 10 nuts, v'chamisha of farsikin, and 5 peaches, v'shnei rimonim, 2 pomegranates, v'eser gachan, and 1 eser. Right, that's what those are the minimum, because we know that on the 2nd and the 6th year of the Shemitah cycle, you need to give Meiser Ani. Right, you got to give Meiser to the Ani. But you can't just give out any amount you want to an Ani. You have to give out a minimum. So this is the list of the minimum. So spices is an uchla, vegetables is a liter, 10 egoizim, whatever, and so on and so forth. V'omar, Gurski, Bar Dori, Mishmei Durav, Manashi, Bar Shaguli, Mishmei Durav. Right, very interesting names right there. V'chein le'eruv, and the same measurement for eruv. V'hani nami, Saraitz, V'hani nami, so apples should be like peaches, right? I'm assuming that the kavanah with the Gemara's kasha there is that like apples are give or take the same size as peaches, right? So if you need 5 peaches to make, we're saying you need 5 peaches to make an eruv, so then 5 apples would also, yeah. So you see that would be the measurement. So we say hani chashivi v'hani lo chashivi. No, apples are not so chashuv. Right? You might have to have more apples. You might have to have more apples in order you can't learn out from peaches, you need to have more apples. So Rav Yosef, Sharale Mare Rabanashi Bar Shavuve Ano Amrisa Nahale Amasnisa. Duam Rabasrais, he says, so Sharale Mare Rabanashi mean hopefully he'll be Sharal from the word means mutter, right? Rashi says the master, hopefully his master will be Michael him because he misquoted Rav. Okay? He said this over B'Shem Rav. Now, Rabbi Yosef is not so happy because he said it over, he didn't say it over properly. Why? Because I said it in the name of Rav on the Mishnah. But he said it on the Brisa. The Tanan, what's the Brisa? You can't give an ani from the storage houses. You can't give him less. These are all measurements. A half of a kav of wheat and a kav of sa'irin. he says a half a kav sayin, a kav chatzi kusmin, and 1.5 kav of kusmin, right? Kusmin is what do you call it? Spelt. A kav groigrus and a kav of dried figs. A mana devela or a mana of devela's pressed figs, right? Figs that like a cake of figs. I'm sorry, Rabbi Kiva Aimer pras. Rabbi Kiva says that you give a pras worth. V'chati lug yain, and you give a half of a lug of yain. Rabbi Kiva Aimer revius. You give a quarter of a lug. Revius shemen and a quarter of a lug of oil. Rabbi Kiva Aimer shminis an eighth. V'shar kol haperus. And what about all the fruits? Amar abashol kadei sheyim karem v'yikach mehem mazon shtei sudas. That's you have to have enough fruit. You have to be able to give an ani enough fruit that he could sell that fruit and have enough money to buy 2 meals. Amar Rav v'chein le'eruv, and Rav said v'chein le'eruv. So that's a whole set of different measurements. Meaning we had a Mishnah before that discussed spices, vegetables, nuts, peaches, and all that. And they said Rav said that those measurements also apply for Eruv. Then we have a Brisa that discussed kusmin, spelt, and rye, and barley, and wheat, and dried figs, etc., etc. And on that, he said v'chein le'eruv. Okay, so what was the big deal? Right? Well, he was saying upset. I hope that Rav is Michael that he misquoted him and said him on a different Brisa, on something different than what he had said it to be. So the Gemara
Isn't
Rabbi
Yosef the one that forgot all his Torah? Is this his Kaidim? He forgot all his Torah when he got sick? Or is that Rabbi Yosef?
That was Rabbi Yosef, right?
Now Rabbi Yosef?
No, was Rabbi Yosef? We just had it a few blot ago.
Oh, it was
It's just a funny thing. It's a funny thing that he's the one who's calling him out for not remembering how it was said. Shame,
well, I don't know if it's that he is. Is it that he forgot, or that he had a misquote on it?
No, but how would he remember how it was quoted if he forgot all his Torah?
I hear. And it's a good point. It's a good point. What are you saying, Rabbi?
I'm asking, this is, if a tavlin, how could it, so it's totally different share than the food.
Right.
That's
what do you mean, that it should be so much smaller?
Small, yeah. You can't have two quarts of apples. You can't have 2 quarts of
right. Also, very good. Very good. Very good. We're going to get to that on. It's at the end of today's daf. Really, more the beginning of tomorrow's daf that it's going to make. Yeah. That's very good. Fine. So let's see. What's it? Why is it any stronger to say that Rav said the same measurement for an Eruv? Why is it any stronger on the Brisa than on the Mishnah, or the Mishnah on the Brisa? And if you're going to say because one of them is talking about spices, and you can't eat spices, Rabban, it's sort of like what you're saying, right? You can't eat spices, so how could he say that you can make an Eruv with spices? Then when we say here wheat and barley, that's not, you can't eat wheat and barley, it needs to be processed. Right? Only because it said a half a lug of yain. And Rav said that you not a half a lug of yain, you have to make an Eruv with 2 revius. Right? Right. So therefore, so the Beina Kulei Hai Shmamino, so this that we require that much wine, right? Half a lug, which is Shtei Reviya Shmamino Ki Amar Rav B'chein Le'eruv Ahom Mastisin Kama. That must be that when Rav is saying B'chein Le'eruv is going on the Mishnah, not on the Brisa. Okay, so Shmamino. So therefore, that's what he's saying. It really goes on the Mishnah, not on the Brisa. Okay, so fine. So Amar Mar, Uvamazin Shtei Sudas Le'eruv, and you need to have the equivalent of 2 meals for an Eruv. So Savar Rav Yosef L'meimer Adi Ika Suda Mehai Usuda Mehai. So Rav Yosef thought that you need to have a full suda of, let's say you have 2 types of food. So you have to have a full suda of bread and a full suda of meat. So Amar Le Rava, no, even for half or a third or a quarter, doesn't make a difference what the breakdown is. As long as the combination of the foods, you have 2 meals worth, then that's enough. Yeah? Fine. So Gufa, Amar Rav Ma'arvin B'shtei Reviyah Shel Yain. So Rav said that you need 2 reviyas of yain, which is a half a lug. Do you need that much? So wine, you need how much wine in order to eat bread for 2 meals. So now this is really, we're going to see this more tomorrow, Bez Hashem, but this is really an important point. What do you mean? How do you have wine that you need 2 sudas of wine? Right. So what it means is kadei lechol bay means you don't need to have a 2 sudas worth of wine. Back then they dipped their bread into wine. So basically you would have to have enough wine for you to dip a meal's worth of bread into that wine. Meaning, so let's say you were using wine to as a substitute for your whole meal, so you would need a lot of wine. Here, what it's saying is that you don't need a lot of wine. You need the amount of wine that you would drink or use by your meal, which is a whole lot less. Right? So that's what the Gemara is asking. Do you need that much wine? All you need is enough to eat bread with, not to replace a meal. How much vinegar? In order enough to, by vinegar in order to tavel bread into vinegar, because they dipped everything. Olives and onions, that you would need 2 meals, because that was used as a regular meal. Those are regular vegetables or fruits, whatever it is. So the Gemara answers, no, hasam b'chamra v'ashla. They were talking about bishul, cooked wine, right? So cooked wine was normally used as a dip. But if it's uncooked wine that you use as drinking, then you're going to need to have a lot more, and that's why that's the steer. Fine. So Amar chaymitz kedei l'tabavay. So vinegar, you need to have enough vinegar to make your eruv, enough vinegar to allow you to dip your bread into for a full meal. So Amar Avgilul Amar Rav kedei l'tabavay mazon shtei sudas shel yerek. You need it enough to be toivel 2 meals of vegetables. Right? Meaning, if you're eating only vegetables, right? You're a vegetarian, so all you're eating for the meal is vegetables, and you don't want carbs. So you're going to dip those vegetables into salad dressing. So whatever amount of salad dressing you would need for a meal's worth of vegetables, that's the amount that you would need to make an eruv. Yigad Amri, Amar Rav Gilal Amar Rav, Yerek Hanechel b'shtei sudas. It's vegetables that would be eaten during 2 sudas, meaning as a side dish with pas. So therefore, it's going to be less vegetables. Amar, fine. Olives and onions in order to eat 2 sudas. Can you make an eruv with onions? Rebbe Meir stayed over in Bar Disko, and somebody came in front of him. Rebbe, Iravti, I made an eruv, the Tivon. I made an eruv with onions in order for me to be able to go to Tivin. Tivin was the name of his town. So he needed an eruv in order to get there. And Reb Meir made him stay in his own 4 amas. Right? He didn't let him walk further, because the rule is, right, the halacha is that once you leave outside of your eruv tchum, then you're stuck in those 4 amas for the rest of Shabbos. Oh. So he had made an eruv. He thought it was okay. I don't know why he went to ask a shaila after he already made the eruv, right? But he did, and he got the wrong answer. And I said, okay, now you're stuck. Now you're stuck in these 4 amas, because Rebbe obviously held that you're not allowed to use onions to make your eruv.
Raw onions or cooked onions or both?
What? It seems like it's raw onions.
And cooked onions would be okay.
I would think that cooked onions would
right,
be
that's what I meant, yeah. Oh.
So the answer is like kasha. So we have a steer with onions. Can you use onions for an eruv tchum or not? So like kasha, one is talking about the leaves, and one is talking about the actual onion itself, not just the leaves of the onion. The Tanya, not just the leaves. The Tanya, somebody eats an onion, and then he gets up in the morning, and then he dies. You don't have to say from where did he die, because you know for sure he died from the onions. But that was only by if he ate the leaves. But if he eats the bulb of the onion, then there's no problem. And now we're going to base by leaves also. He only said it delay iftil zirsa, right? That it didn't grow the size of a zeres. Right? Remember what a zeres is?
Thumb to the little finger.
Right. This. Right. Remember zeres? We had this, and then by Shabbos, zeres is this amount. Right. That's only if it didn't grow a zeres. Aval iftil zirsa less than, but if it grew that big, then there's no problem. Then it's not a sakana. But this is also, this is very good for the beer drinkers. Right? We only say this if you didn't drink beer. If you drink beer, then it's not going to affect you. Right? So therefore, there's obviously some very therapeutic things about drinking beer. Right? Fine. A person shouldn't eat an onion because of the snake that's in it. Now, it doesn't mean that there's a snake in the onion, but it just means that they're very sharp. It's very sharp, the onion, so don't eat it.
Article says the poison with it.
There's poison in it. No, I mean, that's poison.
Right. It doesn't say snake, and it says poison in it.
Right. Right. So Rashi says eres raf habotzel. It's the burning part of the onion.
Is this related to onion overnight, or is that a different thing?
That's a thing from Rabbi Yehuda Chassid. I'm sorry, that's not Rabbi Yehuda Chassid. It's a Gemara. It's a Gemara in Nida, right? That says that it's a sakon if you leave an onion overnight. I don't know if it's connected. I would imagine it has some sort of connection. I don't think onions get sharper if you leave them overnight. If anything, they weaken. No, they don't weaken if you leave them overnight.
I would think so.
Yeah, once they're cut, they weaken.
Yeah, so maybe I don't know.
Does that have to do with snake poison? Snakes going into it and biting it? That's water
that's not
only?
snakes. That's water, yeah. Water and watermelon, stuff like that. Okay, I don't know. But anyway, so he ate a half an onion.
What is
what is it?
Look.
Oh, it's on somebody else. Okay. He ate a half an onion and a half of the poison that was in it. And he got sick and he was about to die. And his friends asked him for Rachmanus. They asked Hashem for Rachmanus because they needed him. Right? So it's an interesting thing. Since he was necessary for Klal Yisrael, so therefore, Parrots, what's your mute, Parrots?
I'm over here in the front.
Parrots.
Who's that guy?
Okay, there you go. Okay. So because the time they needed him. So that's what he davened him, which is very interesting. What do you mean? That's why if they didn't need him, they wouldn't have davened for him.
The Rabbanah Shalom makes a cheshbon when he takes somebody. Is he necessary?
Oh, but this is the Rabbanah Shalom making the cheshbon, or this is they davened for him because they needed him.
Yaakov, they bring down in the bottom that Enochanami, because he ate these onions and put himself in Makom Sakana, weren't for the fact that they needed him, he wouldn't have been saved.
That's interesting, but in the Taich, why did they Taich it?
That's exactly that is the proper Taich.
No, I'm saying
the Chaverim asked for Rachman.
Right. So what we're saying now, we're giving reasons why Hashem allowed him to live. We're giving reasons why Hashem chose to make him live. We're making Hashem's cheshbonus why Hashem let him live.
No, the reason why they davened for him, they wouldn't have davened for him.
That's what I'm asking. That's the way you teach it.
Yeah, that's the way they teach it.
They davened for him because they needed him.
That's a guy's Yavis.
They asked for Rachman, and the Gemara is telling you he lived because he was necessary.
So you're saying, no, Reb Zev, I don't know. See, the Art Scrolls doesn't seem to be saying it like that, right? That's what you're saying, Akiva, right? I have it right here.
I'm not saying it. That guy's Yavis says it. I'm not saying.
No, I'm saying, but the way how does the Oilam must have an Art Scroll, right? How do you teach it?
They asked Chaverim asked Rachman. The Chaya, the Gezak the Gemara, he lived.
So we're deciding why he lived.
No,
we can make
Gemara
a decision why he lived.
The reason he lived is because it was necessary.
So this is a makar for all the rabbis that get up every time there's a tzara and saying why it happened, why it didn't happen, why it's going to happen, why it's not going to happen.
The rabbis is not to shut in the Gemara. The Gemara is saying this is why he lived.
Okay, I don't know. See, the article
what don't you like about it?
Because how do we know what Hashem's cheshbon is?
When the Chacham say that Marich Lo Yomam, right?
Okay, I know Chanami, but
you're saying,
I don't know.
How do you know that the Rabbanah Shem's lengthening the days? How do you know?
I don't know. I don't know.
So the Gemara. So what does it mean? if somebody
So when the Gadol dies, that's because we didn't need him anymore?
what?
When a Gadol dies means we didn't need him anymore.
No,
We
the
can
Rebbe
get-
Shem said
We can
that
get by without Reb Steinman, or we didn't need him anymore, Reb Steinman.
the Rebbe Shem made override a cheshbon. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you're saying pshat. What are you saying pshat?
I didn't say it. The Gemara said it.
I don't understand what the Gemara said. I'm enough to say that I don't know what the heck the Gemara is talking about.
Yaakov, couples therapy? We don't want to talk about that. We leave that one alone.
It's good.
All right, you got a shout out because you drink beer, so just relax. Yaakov gave you a shout out tonight.
That's right. That's right.
Now we know why the Seder goes so late by you.
Anyway,
I think that, listen, the pshat is that really he should have never ate it, right? He should have never ate it. He put himself
Right.
in the makom sakana, and really he deserved to die. Now, why didn't he die? Because it was necessary.
okay, good. So that's what the art scrolls say, right, Kiva? That's what you're saying, right? That's what the art scrolls saying.
That's what I'm saying. Or
That's
that's
just
right.
bringing
That's
from
what
the
I'm saying.
So
B'shem V'agos
look on
Yavis.
Gershon just posted the Marsha's pshat on the thing. Okay, whatever it is, it's an interesting.
What do you want to say pshat is?
I don't have pshat. I don't have pshat. So one thing I could say, the musars that we could take out of it is that make yourself necessary and y'all got a chance for survival, right? It's very good for the week
never
before
heard you
Rosh Hashanah.
schmooze. I
Make
heard you-
yourself necessary, right? That much we could take out of it. We're all in agreement. It can't hurt to make yourself
When
necessary.
the Rebbe Shem takes in the neshama, he makes cheshbonis with everything around it.
Make yourself
And a
necessary
chanami. To anybody in anything.
who has to decide if
Kids-
we're necessary? Who
Listen,
decides?
it can't. Listen, you're right.
I'm saying
It
it seems
can't
like
hurt.
it seems Chavirim have to decide whether or not we're necessary.
That's true. Okay, good. So make yourself. I would say a good place to start is make yourself necessary to your friends. No, do chesed or whatever. I don't think it means necessary in the basketball court. I think it probably means more in more important
Family,
things or
kids?
whatever. It ain't my department to give musas. So
Your
I'm
kids
not,
is good enough. Your family and your kids.
family and your kids. It's interesting now that you bring that up. One of the tainas against getting life insurance? I don't know. Moshe Feinstein say it, or one of the Gedolim
Lack of
said it.
Emunah, what?
No. Besides for that whole issue, that Kolzman, that you don't have life insurance, so you're necessary to support your family. Now you have a life insurance policy. Hashem says, I don't need him for Parnasa anymore for his family. He dies, he's worth more, right? No, I'm saying
Depends how he dies.
whatever it is. Well, that could be too. It depends on your policy, right? But I know one of the places says that. I don't remember who. I don't remember what. So maybe okay, whatever. Okay, I'm
I
gonna
think,
say,
hello. I think Rab
Yeah.
Gifter Zatzal said that it's actually a school of Samim to buy the policy.
right. That's what some say.
One
Who'd you
thing
quote that
for
from,
sure is the insurance company will do its best to keep you alive. They
That's
will send doctors. I know somebody has an $8 million policy. If he has the sniffles, they're right over there.
That's what it means that the Shah Tzrichaloi, that his friends needed him to stay alive, so therefore he stays alive. That's a different shot. Okay, very good. Okay, fine. Amar Abzayir, Amar Shmuel. Yeah, Sheikh or Marvin, boy, you're allowed to make an Eruv with beer, right? And if the beer, fall right for those that remember Makkah. If the beer falls into the mikveh, if more than 3 lugin worth, then that will make the mikveh puzzle. So maskif law of kahana pshita, it's pasha v'chima ben zela meitzeva. Why is that any different than colored water? The Tanan Rabbi Yossi, meitzeva paisanas and mikveh b'shleisha lugin. Dyed water that's colored, passes a mikveh with 3 lugin. So why do you need to say that beer will? So Amri Hasam Mayit Tzava Mikri. There, Mayim, it's called water. Here it's called beer, so maybe you would think that it doesn't have the din of water. So therefore it's not, therefore you would think that it's not going to pass the mikvah. Kamashmallah, that is going to pass the mikvah. Basically what it's saying that if water, mikvah has to be rainwater, right? If you have more than 3 lugin of water gets added to the mikvah, right, before it has 40 sa, then it's going to make it puzzle. Once it has 40 sa, you could add whatever you want, which is what goes on with all our mikvahs, right? But so that's what we're saying. So we're saying colored water has a din of water, so that's partial to be looking. But beer, maybe not. So Kamash Malan, that beer is going to passel your mikvah with 3 lugim. But Kama Marvin, so how much beer do you need? So Rav Yosef, Kamei Rav Yosef, remember, betraying Rivi Shichra, he thought that it would be 2 quarters of a kav, right? So, which is really a half. Yeah, so that's what he thought. Now this gets a little bit mathematical. This next Gemara, right? This is going back to Gemara Shabbos, way back, right? Right, in order to remember, the Gemara in Shabbos goes through all the different measurements that you have to carry. Right, you only chayav for carrying on Shabbos if you carry a minimal amount. If you carry a quarter of a tissue in your pocket, which is meaningless, you're not going to be chayav for carrying. You're not allowed to, but you wouldn't be chayav. So the Gemara goes through for blot and blot, all different measurements of different things. So how much wine you have to carry in order to be chayav? So you carry out wine, it's got to be enough in order for you to dilute it with the kois. It has to be a kois yafa, my kois yafa. Or it means it has to be a nice kois shel bracha. It has to be a kois shel bracha, right? Kiddush, havdalah, etc. Kois shel bracha needs to have a quarter of a revius. Why? So that when you dilute it with water, it's going to end up being a quarter of a lug. Any wine that you can't dilute it with 1 part wine to 3 parts water, lav chamrahu, that's not good wine, right? So for Katani Seifa, obviously this doesn't apply nowadays. Our wines are all considered diluted. But Katani Seifa, Ushar Kala Mashkin B'Revius, but every other liquid other than wine is a Revius. And any type of dirty water that's going to be spilled out also gets a Revius. So it's saying there it's 1 to 4, right? So meaning that's Revius. So too here would be 1 to 4. Then where it says there, anything less than a quarter, we're not going to. It's not chashav. It's not considered anything. But here not. Here Eruv doesn't have that same qualifications. Davidi inchi deshasu kasav b'tzafra kasav b'panya for samchi alaya, because sometimes people do drink beer in the morning, beer in the afternoon, and that's enough for them for the whole day, right? I imagine there's people on this stuff that can survive on beer in the morning and a beer in the afternoon, and that'll get them through the day, right? So that's what we're saying. That maybe is enough, even though normally you would need more beer than that for kiddush or whatever it is, but that would be enough. So fine. That's the beer. Tamarim, dates, bekama. How many dates do you have to have? Amar Rav Yosef, tamarim bekav. Needs to be a kav's worth of dates. Amar Rav Yosef, how do I know? The Tanya. If you eat a dried fig, v'shilim tamarim, and you paid back, meaning if you ate dried figs of Terumah, right? So that belongs to the kohen. So you got to pay him back. So let's say you ate a dried fig and you paid him back with tamar with dates. Tavay la bracha, you're going to get a bracha because you're paying him back more. Meaning more than you ate. Heichi dami, what's the case? If it's a financial thing, the acham minei bezuzah. He ate a zuz worth of groigras, and he paid him back a zuz worth of tamarim. My tavela bracha he ate a zuz worth, and he paid him back a zuz worth, right? So that can't be. It can't be just a financial thing, because then the guy is not any better off. Must be according to the measurements. The achamine griyur de groigras. He ate a griyur of groigras, the shavi zuzah. Whatever, a small amount of groigras that's worth a zuz, they grew the tmarim, and he paid him back the same measurement in dates, the shavi arba, but it's worth a lot more. Meaning, it's as if, let's say, the equivalent if he ate an apple of Terumah, and he paid him back a pomegranate, let's say.
There's no
Which worth a lot more. No, because it's kedusha. Right? They grew the tmarim, the shavi arba, but the tani tavei la bracha. Whatever it is, the point is that you see that dates is even better than figs. So if figs has a certain measurement, so then tamarim is going to have the same measurement, right? I'm sorry, if figs and dates are going to have the same measurement. So no, it's really talking about where he ate a zuz worth and he paid him back in a different fruit with a zuz worth. Why is he getting a bracha? because he ate something that people are not, literally the translation is that people are not jumping to buy it. Let's say he ate quinoa. I don't know. He ate quinoa and he paid him back. He paid him back something that people really like to eat, which is, I don't know, an apple, a pomegranate, something that people really like. So since the kohen will now be able to find buyers for this much easier, so therefore it's going to be, he's getting a bracha. Fine.
Why is it the same?
Point is that a tamar is just as chashuv as
tamar's more
figs.
chashuv.
Well, but it can have that if.
So why is it
if
the same measurement? It
it's-
could be a small measurement.
What? No, but
Maybe
it's
it
at
could be
least that. It's at least that. Naftali's telling it could be less, maybe. Right? Meaning we're saying it's at least that measurement. It doesn't have to be more, but maybe it's less. Okay, I hear. Oh, right. No, I'm saying right. That's Taisus Kasha. Very good. Oh, very good. Taisus Kasha, right? That's So Taisus is saying that it's only that's the minimum. It's not the max. It's just saying that at least we know for sure that that's the max. I'm sorry, not the minimum. That's the maximum you'd have to do. You could maybe do less. Okay, shisisa. Right. So what's shisisa? So that is some sort of food of. Rashi says it's wheat, it's roasted wheat, dried roasted wheat in a tanner, and you put in honey, and it's a whole mixed. I don't know exactly what the equivalent of this one would be. So, anyways, shisisa. Someone about Vinchas tray, sharkshuge, shargushe. I'm sorry, kisani. They are. You need to have tray. I'm sorry, tray shargushe. You need 2 spoons. Rashi says 2 spoons worth. Kisani. What's kisani? That's roasted grains. Abaya tray buni, the pumpadisa. It needs to have 2 bune, right? That Rashi says it's some sort of measurement that was used in pumpadisa. Amar Abaya, Amar Li'aim. Now we're back. We haven't had Abaya's mother in a while, right? Again, this is not Abaya's mother. This is Abaya, the mother, the lady that brought up Abaya, because his mother passed away young. Hani Kisani, right? So these Hakisani Ma'alo Liba Mavate Machshavta. Roasted garlic. Right, so it's Milo Liba. It's good for the heart.
So this fits in with some people's shot in the prior Gemara. You didn't need his mother because his stepmother was a Talmud Chacham, so he didn't need his real mother.
Oh, and she brought him up.
Yeah,
I hear. Okay, right. Mavadli machshavta, and it also is mavadli your machshavas, right? Meaning it makes you calm. Yeah, so I guess this is like a volume, an old day version of the volume. Right, V'amar Abaya, Amar Li'aim, Ayman de Islay Chulsha de Liba. Somebody has a weak heart. Laisi Bisra de Atma Yamina de Dichra. He should bring meat from the right thigh of a ram. But Laisi Kvuye de Risa de Nisan, and bring Kvuye is what do you call it? Excrement of a Reisa means of animals. The Nisan. From the month of Nisan. I don't know how they figured all this out. V'ileka, and if you don't have that, v'ileka kuye derisa, but if you can't have the excrement, lysi sugine darvasa, you bring what do you call it? Twigs of branches of a tree, right? V'nich bavave v'nechel, and then you make coals out of them, and then you eat them. V'nishti, and then v'nishi basrei chamra mark, and then you drink after it some sort of wine, right? Rashi says wine that's diluted, and that will take care of somebody's heart issues. Okay, I guess we'll stop here. Another interesting daf. Yeah, I'm not so sure what's more gishmak, doing tzuras Pesach and wires and mobiles or this stuff, whatever it is. But yeah, anyways, have a good one.
We're gonna have minimum beer at the Siyam.
Okay.
We're gonna have a minimum amount of beer at the Siyam.
I guess so. Right. That's all I have to have by the Siyam, the sheer measurements for each thing. Right? In order to get in, you have to pass the test, what the measurement is. Oh. All right. So long. Yeah.
no,
All right. Naftali Lando, you still there or he hung up? All right, he left.
You want to put it in a safe.
Fine.
So you want to buy a safe, a proper safe. You have to have
Doesn't have to be a safe.
You have to have something to support the safe.
Well, Lando can get us something.
Did you say my name?
Yeah, what you doing here? Like, there's an echo in here now. I'm hearing an echo.
You know, it was a joint effort with you and your wife, your wife, that